Well, here we are, boys. 2 and 7. Another therapy session, another L, and I'm still in disbelief. I'm still at loss for words. I'm still shocked. I'm still just trying to wake up from this nightmare that is 2 and 7 because there's just no way how we have this much talent and we're this bad at football. But here we are. Um, I know a lot of trolls were in my comment. What do you mean draft season just started? It started 2 weeks. Nah, it didn't. For the haters, it started a couple weeks ago. But for the ones that were trying to hold on to everything that we could, this was it right here. We needed this game in order to make us seem a little less delusional, to have a little bit more hope, and yet can't pull out another win at home. Like we went 8-1 at home last year, and we are currently sitting at 1-4 at home right now. And I how? And like I've been thinking about this all night too. The thing that pisses me off the most about being 2-7 and being 1-4 and seeing Jameis Winston throw three interceptions, and seeing Nick Chubb get 15 carries for 39 yards, and seeing Amari Cooper get traded, and seeing Deshaun Watson not live up to the contract, and seeing Kevin Stefanski now being week to week. What pisses me off out about all this stuff with the Cleveland Browns organization is that it's the low hanging fruit, and we always seem to prove all of the haters right. It's not easy. It's not hard to say the Browns are going to be trash. It's not hard to say, oh, Jameis Winston's going to go right back to throwing interceptions. It's not hard to say Deshaun Watson was a waste. It's not hard to sit here and say all of these things because we have been so bad for so long. And when we finally get an opportunity to just stick it to these we always prove them right. Oh, don't worry, Browns will be back. It'll be the same old Browns. Just give it some time. Like, when are we gonna get past this? Because I'm sick of it. I'm sick of really looking like the clown. Now, I'm not gonna ever stop rooting for my team. I'm not gonna stop changing my positivity in the way that I act towards this team because I love this team. But I'm so sick of every single year. And we get a good year. We did it in 2021. We did it again this year. Every time we have a good season the next year, we did it in 2007 and 2008. Every single time we have an expectation, we fall flat on our freaking face. And we prove all of these low hanging fruit eaters right. Because all this week I heard, don't worry, Jameis is going to throw an intercept. Even from our own Browns fans, the interviews, I know Jameis is going to throw a couple interceptions this week. It's like, why do we have to think that? Why do we have to speak it? Why? Like, and I get it because it's all we've seen. And we always go back to it. But it just hurts. It's salt to the wound knowing that these haters always get it right. And it's because it's so obvious. It's so easy for them to be right. We have the same exact team. We added pieces. We didn't lose anything to where you would be like, yeah, they're gonna take some steps back. And we go 8-1 at home to 1-4. It didn't even look like we showed up to the Chargers game yesterday. And I know, and I ended up going to the game, which is why there was no live stream. And part of me said I wanted to keep the mojo. I knew I should have stayed in the RV. I'm going superstition right now. Like I should have just kept with the plan. And something was telling me not to go. And it must have been the aura that I was feeling because the second we got in there, you know what we like to do. Let's get to the Let's get to the box. Let's get to the play-by-play box score real quick. You know how we get down. Defense comes out and get a full 3 and out, basically. 4 plays, 18 yards. And then somehow we just went right back to the offense that we saw 8 out of the 9 weeks. This was not the offense that we saw. Look at this. 1 5 play 12 yards, 4 play 10 yards, 3 play -5 yards, 10 play 34 yards, and a field goal. 3 plays -5, 3 plays 6 yards. This is all in the first half. This is all in the first half, bro. And here we are. Blown coverage on 3rd down. Quentin Jefferson, one there. Then you have another blown coverage after Miles gets another sack. Where is it? It's not this one. Which one was this? Oh my goodness. Where is it? Where's the other blown coverage one, bro? That had to have been it. Either way, the one thing that I said was keeping me from, you know, just throwing in the towel and waving the white flag was going to be this defense. And I don't know why the Juan Thornhill project didn't work, why it doesn't work, why there's always seemed to be miscommunication on his side of the field with him and Denzel Ward. But maybe the project just isn't working. Like, remember at the beginning of the year when I talked about this was the biggest year this organization has ever had since '99? Well, I didn't think that we would be 9 weeks in having to experience what we're about to go through, but here we are, and this is we are in the exact position that I feared most. Because guess what? Zadarius Smith is more than likely on his way to the Lions. This news came out in the second quarter of the Browns game. I could not believe it. This information came out during the Browns game as he was taking snaps. You've had Myles Garrett's name being thrown around in a numerous amounts of trade talk, and I don't think Myles Garrett's going to get traded. I think that would be foolish if you still think you have an opportunity to rebuild this thing and to make this a shorter window than it is. You don't get rid of Myles Garrett. Denzel Ward, you know what his contract is. You know the injury history. There's somebody out there that's probably a contender that would be willing to give up a little bit more. It's just like I seen David Njoku's name being thrown around, and that baffles me because just 3 months ago, David Njoku was cemented in Cleveland. Like, there was no way you could see David Njoku in another uniform. And now we're talking about his names being thrown in the trade charts. Like, they are going to try to this is not in need for a big rebuild. We don't need to take the studs out. You just have to put the right guys in there. You have a lot of talent this year. You still have a lot of talent under contract. That's the thing that's blowing my mind. And it's like Kevin Stefanski's been saying it. This is what's crazy. We're talking about a 2-time coach, by the way, 2-time coach of the year. He's probably gone. All his press conference, the interview that I saw yesterday was the first time I listened to it, and I was like, wow, that was a different Kevin Stefanski. There was ones where you're like, yeah, that didn't sound like him. He was still playing the card, but it sounded like he was just checked out. If you didn't listen to the interview, go back and listen to the post-game interview and just listen to how checked out Kevin Stefanski sounded. It sounds as if he knows his time is up in Cleveland. And the Browns have an opportunity here to prove the haters wrong again, right again, or they can take this haymaker to the face. Don't blow this thing completely up. And before we get into any of that, Jimmy Haslam has to step back and let these guys and get some people in here that can control and have power. That's what I really wanted to talk about. I'm glad I rolled into that. because it's as much as I want this, as much as you want this, as much as every Browns fan wants this thing to get right, until Jimmy Haslam can fully concede and be like, you know what? I'm completely out of this. I'm not having any decisions with like the Johnny Manziel. We know he had to play a role in it, Deshaun Watson. We know he has his hand in a lot of these operations. Let's go back in the history, right? The problem with this Browns organization has always been a power struggle. Homegrown, all of these, like you can go all the way back. Like you can go back. But let's talk about the Haslam era. The Haslam era, let's go back to Sashi Brown. Sashi Brown didn't have no power. Sashi Brown had one job and one job only. That was to tear this thing down and create as much money as you could possibly create. He did that. He got rid of Joe Hayden, a guy who went on to make the Pro Bowl a year after we got rid of him. We got rid of Joe Hayden. He tore it down to the studs. Zero power. Then you bring in John Dorsey, a guy who he had some power, right? And I think he had too much power, which is why we ran him out of here, because he wanted a little bit more power. And Jimmy Haslam wasn't willing to give that up. But what did what did John Dorsey give us? The studs. Denzel Ward, Baker Mayfield, Jarvis Landry, Nick Chubb. Myles Garrett wasn't his doing, but that was part of Andrew Berry. David Njoku. He put the cornerstone pieces into place. And when he wanted to do more, Jimmy Haslam got rid of him because he wanted that power. So you bring in a guy like Andrew Berry, who's an analytical guy who's very good with the numbers. And he just so happened to fall into this opportunity where it's like, damn, we can go get a top 5 talent at quarterback. And here's the caveat. We may have to give up the guy who brought us out of the slums in Baker Mayfield. We may have to get rid of the one person that was fit for this city. And I'll get into fit for this city in a moment. And he ultimately, we know how that story goes. He jumps the gun. He pays the money. He goes and does something that this organization has never done. And this is hindsight 2020. We know what it is now. But at the time, let's not play crazy. Deshaun Watson was a top 3 quarterback in the league, coming off of a 4,000 or 5,000 yard season. There was a reason why 13 other teams wanted him, and 4 of them were willing to pay up money just like we were. So Andrew Berry and Jimmy Haslam are thinking, yeah, damn, we really got to let go of Baker Mayfield. But this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, especially being in the brown and orange in the Cleveland Browns organization. We got to take this. Right move, poor execution, wrong guy, wrong situation. Right move, right thought process, if that's the right thing. They were thinking right. Ultimately, it was wrong. But we can't knock them for thinking and trying to go out there and get a talent that was at the peak. We can't fault them for that. So now, where's the power come back in with the Bear? Okay, so here's the power thing with this organization that we have now. Andrew Berry, it's already shown the power, in the areas of power that he has is in the scouting department, acquiring free agents, making trades. He has all that power. And ultimately, it probably gets cleared through Jimmy. But when it comes on the field stuff, what does Kevin Stefanski, which is why we're seeing this week to week, his power was exactly what I've been telling you before every single week. I want Kevin Stefanski to give up play calling. I wanted him to give up play calling because we needed to see some kind of change, period. I also said, if you take away Kevin Stefanski's play calling, what other power does he have? Because the one thing that you brought him here for was for his offensive mind and to call plays. You stripped him from that. It took 3 years for this team to be like, for we could look at this team and be like, damn, we bought in for real. David Njoku and him were butting heads at one point, and David Njoku won it out. And then they started winning games with Joe Flacco. They go on that and they win 11 games. Everyone's bought in. Why? Because Kevin Stefanski's offensive mind was working and we were winning games. So you take away his offensive play sheet and his power in the offense, and you give it over to Dorsey. What power does Kevin Stefanski have? Which is why he's came out the past couple weeks and said, "Yeah, everyone's week to week in this business." He don't know what he don't got no power. So what coach, what GM, what is gonna come in here knowing that the ownership is not gonna give them any type of power whatsoever in the way that you would want your coach? Kevin Stefanski doesn't have Mike Tomlin power. Kevin Stefanski doesn't have John Harbaugh power or Andy Reid power. This matters when you're talking about a head coach who's trying to run a team. And then you take away the one thing that he's great at the most, and that's his offensive mind. This team is running leadershipless again. We got the 1 week of the Jameis Winston fever, right back to showing what we've been lacking this whole season, which was leadership. And the only reason why Kevin led so well last year and the year in 2020, why? Because our offense was good. Because we were scoring points. Because we were winning games. So, like, it doesn't matter if a Cam Ward comes in here. It doesn't matter. Like, this draft that I need, like, we saw the blueprint of what this team needs, right? You need somebody that can weather the Cleveland storm. You need somebody that does not care about what the media is going to say. You need somebody that, and if they do care, they know how to embrace it and control it. They know how to make them pay, or they know how to get them to buy in, a la Jarvis Landry, a la Baker Mayfield. There was one thing that Baker Mayfield had all the time, and that was the moxie of Cleveland. Baker Mayfield knew how to get this city going. Baker Mayfield was Cleveland. Jarvis Landry changed the culture and saying none of that stuff lives here anymore. Guess what? All of that stuff seeped back into the organization. All of that stuff that Baker Mayfield and Jarvis Landry weeded out and Greg Williams weeded out, those roots sprouted right back up because we didn't tend to them, because we got comfortable, we got talented, we paid players, and we forgot to tend to the little stuff in the garden. And now we've got the weeds poking right back up. And guess what? They've taken over the garden again. So which is why I'm so intrigued. And now this is the far-fetched. We talked about this on Therapy Show, I believe 2 or 3 weeks ago. There was one situation that I would rock with for the Shedeur Sanders, because there's only one person that I feel like is fit for the change that we're trying to have. You have to bring someone in here that knows how to bring change, that is okay with the media, that knows how to handle certain types of adversity. And if you could find a way to pry Prime out of Colorado and bring him here with Shedeur, that would be the only thing that could. You mean to tell me Prime can't handle Cleveland media? You mean to tell me Prime can't weather and change a culture in Cleveland? He would be the perfect guy to make that change. But Shedeur by himself, absolutely not. We'll eat him up. we thought Johnny Manziel was going to be the guy to come in here and do that. Obviously, Johnny Manziel had other problems. I think Shedeur up here is way advanced as far as Manziel was. But we'll eat Shedeur up without Prime. But if you had both of them here, a coach, a leader of men, a guy who knows how to galvanize men and knows how to handle media and certain critiques and criticisms and noise, it takes a special breed, which was why Baker, we loved him so much, because he knew how to handle that. He was the one in the media. Jarvis Landry was the one in the locker room. It was the perfect mesh. So until this organization can bring in guys, now I'm not, no discredit to Miles, no discredit to Nick Chubb, David Njoku, those guys. That's just not the type of warrior that I'm asking for to be put in onto this team right now. They're warriors and legends in their own. They are there's special abilities in other areas with them. But what this team is missing is that real, man, that leadership, bro. That defining culture change, that culture changer. And until we get that, which is why I am so, you know who I'd be all in on too? And I'm going back to Colorado. Travis Hunter is the perfect example of a guy who would fit in a system where noise does not matter. Why? Because Travis Hunter, number one, can back up what he preaches, number one. Like when he gets attacked, he'll address it and then he'll go out there on the field and he'll produce. But he's not outside. He's not being distracted with parties or being in the limelight in another way other than football conversations. Mentally, he's locked into football and football only. That's out of his mouth. There's reports all throughout it that Travis Hunter is a baller and a baller only. And he can change a culture. He changed the culture at the Jackson. He changed it at Colorado. Everywhere Travis Hunter has gone, he's changed a culture. Bring me Travis Hunter. I want a culture changer on this team because talent is not what we lack. I went on a ramble, but I want you guys to just understand this doesn't have to be this massive rebuild like everyone is thinking. This like, and I know it's disgusting when I click this chart and you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 losses in a that's not a that's bigger than talent. I'm sorry, that's bigger than talent. And whether it be players didn't want to play for Deshaun Watson, people just I don't know, maybe they just overlooked the season and thought it was going to be easier than normal. I don't know what happened this year. But these next, what is it, 8 games that we have are very important when you talk about the direction of this team, the pieces that will be on this team moving forward, and how big of a blow up is this actually going to be. Guys like Grant Delpit, JOK, Denzel Ward, David Njoku, Myles Garrett, Joe Patonio, Wyatt Teller. Those are guys that are under contract right now. If you start to see the guys that are being moved under contract that are your cornerstone pieces, that's when you know what type of rebuild we're going. But if you're seeing the Zadariuses and the Shelbys and the Newsomes, and some of these guys that are on 1-year deals or contracts are up or looking for contract, Jedrick Wills, like those are, as much as I love Newsome and I love ZD and Shelby and all these guys, if you can get value for guys that are more than likely not going to be on the roster next year, at this point, you got to take what you can get. But moving on from David Njoku, moving on from Myles Garrett, moving on from I don't want to move on from Denzel Ward. I would get that one a little bit more than the others. But like moving on from these guys, Grant Delpit, JOK, you can't move on from these guys. And I know Grant Delpit and JOK's names haven't been thrown around in any trade conversations. I'm just saying the guys that are under contract that are cornerstone pieces that are solidified on this team, you can't move those pieces because at the end of the day, we've seen guys like Diabate step up. We've seen guys like Devin Bush be very, very serviceable this year. We haven't said, dang, look at Devin Bush getting burnt again. He's been serviceable this year. Very good. Jordan Hicks, when healthy, has been good this year. Like you can find guys to plug into this team and make this thing go again. But I don't care what quarterback you bring in here. If that quarterback can't change the culture, if that quarterback can't handle the Cleveland Storm, and our Storm ain't even bad, it isn't even as bad as others, but the Storm is so unique and so different. If you can't handle the Cleveland Storm, it doesn't matter how good of a talent you are because we'll blow it. It won't work. Talent alone won't work here in Cleveland. We've seen it with Josh Gordon. We've seen it with Myles Garrett, his talent is not winning us playoff games alone. Like talent alone is not going to win. When we went to the playoffs, we had talent and culture. When we went to the playoffs last year, what did we have? Talent and culture. Like if you don't have the talent or the culture together, you can't just have one or the other. You can have culture, but talent will only get you so far. How many times have you seen third and fourth stringers step up? You see Nick Foles have the Cinderella story. That's part of the culture that they were implemented into. No one thinks Nick Foles was this world-class talent. Talent's only gonna get you so far. So if this team can, they have the talent. We have plenty of it. We need to find the culture. And until we find the culture, this is we're going to continue to be the low hanging fruit, and we're going to continue to prove all of the trolls and haters right because I mean, it's at this point, it is what it is. It's a cycle. We'll have one good year, and until we have two or three good consecutive seasons, we shouldn't expect it, myself included. Next year or the next time we are good, I have to damper my expectations. I'm not going to go above and beyond and do this rah-rah thing like I did this year and in 2021. Because guess what? We have not proved it. We have not proven it as of late. And until we do that, I don't know, man. So it's definitely a crappy situation to be in. We got a bye week. We got to sit on this L. We got to sit on 2-7 for so long. I'm very curious to know what your guys' thoughts are as far as what changes will be made, what players might be on the move, what players might be drafted. I'm so curious to know all of that. Let me know in the comments below. Um, but one thing that a few things that I'll be watching for in these upcoming weeks. The first one is obviously going to be Kevin Stefanski. He sounds like a man that's already on the ledge, and it's just a matter of them pushing him off, meaning he's more than likely fired. I don't know if he makes it through the year. Um, I think that they're going to have some tough conversations and tough decisions to be made this week for sure. The report was already out yesterday that Zadarius is more than likely going to end up in Detroit, so he's probably gone. I would be utterly shocked if Miles Garrett is not on this roster after the deadline. Um, Denzel Ward, I can't see him getting moved either. But if David Njoku gets traded too, we have serious problems. So that's what we'll be looking forward to. This next 12 hours. I believe the deadline ends tomorrow at 4. So buckle on up because not only could we see players gone, we could potentially see some coaches gone because there's no way Jimmy Haslam is looking at this record at 2-7 with all of this talent and going into the bye we can be like, yeah, we're gonna bring this thing out and look to make adjustments and to look at it, we've got to be better. We will be better. Like that stuff's got to be gone. So I appreciate each and every one of you guys for tuning into the therapy session. Again, let me know in the comments your guys' thoughts, trade suggestions, ideas, and I'll catch you guys on the live stream. Because I'm going live probably an hour after this. All right, so I'll see you guys soon. Peace.